Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to No Final Bell episode 13. Um, Before we go on to talk about Impact and AEW, Dynamite and Rampage for the week, we will be talking about the 8 releases that WWE has made just recently, and two notable ones, if not more like 3 notable ones, were John Morrison, Drake Maverick, and Tegan Knox.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure on the show we were
Yeah.
discussing
Matter of fact.
we were discussing about John Morrison being one of the ones that could be next
Yeah.
because his wife got released not
It,
that long
it
prior
was
to it.
inevitable.
So
Here's an entire list of WWE superstars that were released this year: Lars Sullivan, Big Show, whose contract expired, Steve Cutler, Andrade, Samoa Joe, who was later rehired, Billy Kay, Peyton Royce, Mickie James, Chelsea Green, Kalisto, Wesley Blake, Bo Dallas, Tucker, Alexander Wolf, The Velveteen Dream, which, for obvious reasons, Vanessa Bourne, Kavita DeVee, Ezra Judge, referee Jake Clemens, Skylar Story, Jessamine Duke, referee Drake Wirtz, Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, who is now Malachi Black, Buddy Murphy, who's now Buddy Matthews, Lana, Ruby Riott, who is now Ruby Soho, Santana Garrett, Killian Dane, who is now back to being Big Damo, Tyler Breeze, Fandango, Tony Nese, Arya Davari, Everrise, who is now 2.0 and The Show Rules, the Bollywood Boys, Kurt Stallion, August Gray, Arturo Ruas, Tino Sabatelli, Marina Shafir, Bray Wyatt, Ric Flair, Bobby Fish, Bronson Reed, who we will mention Bronson Reed, aka Jonah, later on, Jake Atlas, Leon Ruff, referee Stefan or Steven Smith, Mercedes Martinez, Giant Zangier, Ari Sterling, Kona Reeves, Asher Hale, Tyler Rust, Zachariah Smith, Desmond Troy, Eva Marie, Grand Metalik, Karrion Kross, Keith Lee, Lindsay Dorado, Mia Yim, Nia Jax, B-Fab, who was in Hit Row, Ember Moon, Frankie Monet, Katrina Cortez, Oni Lorcan, Jesse Kamea, Jeet Rama, Zeta Ramier, Scarlett, Trey Baxter, Harry Smith, Ashanti the Adonis, Tegan Knox, Drake Maverick, John Morrison, Jackson Riker, Isaiah Swerve Scott, Shane Thorne, and Top Dollar.
oh yeah, that's also said Isaiah Zwerve Scott
Yes,
as well.
all of Top Dollar, yes, I'm sorry, all of Hit Row have been released. And they haven't even been on the main roster for like a month. They literally signed new contracts for them just so they couldn't get that 30-day non-compete clause, which is just petty. Absolutely petty.
Now the real question is, when is it gonna stop, and how long will it take WWE to keep on releasing wrestlers before they realize they have a real problem with their hands? And the real problem with their hands is not their present, it's their future.
Yeah.
Do they have a future? I don't think so. They definitely do. They definitely do not. They're planning
If they
more
had
about.
a problem,
They're focusing more on the sole present than they are the future.
if they had a future, then they wouldn't release all this talent.
No.
And even then, like,
And
how doomed is NXT 2.0 at this point? Because you literally have all of these like performance center prospects, and that's it. And even then, it's literally like NXT 2.0 is literally just micromanaged by Vince anyways. He pushes who he wants on NXT 2.0, and even then, it's not a lot of the like homegrown indie talent that has made their name in NXT for years. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're still pushing their like really big like because look at Tommaso Ciampa right now. He's the NXT champion, and he's one of those guys that like, yeah, he's been in NXT for a long time, but at the same time, it's like he also was one of those big guy, big name guys that came from the indies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, same with Johnny Gargano. And apparently, WWE has offered him a very strong offer. If I'm Johnny Gargano, like, I'm at a conflict of interest because, on one hand, my wife is pregnant and she's still contracted to WWE, but on the other hand, I just want to be a freaking wrestler. So, and
Right.
that's all Johnny Gargano has ever wanted to do. All he ever wanted to do was wrestle. And, granted, yes, I know he has been on a SmackDown dark match before against, I believe it was Kyle O'Reilly. It might have been against somebody else. Either way, they're slowly making the adjustments for him to go up to like the main roster, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure Johnny Gargano was one of those people that like just did not want to go to the main roster. Maybe he's changed his mind at this point, maybe not, but either way, if I'm Johnny Gargano, I would be very, very hesitant and very cautious about like seriously considering my future with WWE.
Yeah, well, the thing is, like, we also talked about it here that, we kind of figured that John Morrison was next. I guess, I don't know how true this is, but apparently Jeff Hardy, before he retires, wants a Hardy's reunion. I was talking to Marty about this. He doesn't care where it is. I know exactly where it's going to be. It's going to be in AEW. It's not going to be in WWE. It ain't going to be anywhere else. I think it's going to be in AEW. It makes the most sense. Hardy's and AEW would beef up the tag team division a lot more so than it is right now.
And not for nothing, Jeff Hardy going to AEW would probably be the best thing, not just for Jeff, but for Matt as well, because, like, Matt Hardy just needs to get rid of the HFO. Like,
Yeah.
the Hardy family office is not doing anything for anybody. It's not doing anything for Butcher, Blade, and the Bunny.
Mm.
Not doing anything for Private Party. Certainly isn't doing anything for Matt Hardy himself.
Yeah, speaking of Private Party, we have not seen Private Party in a really long time on Dynamite or Rampage. I mean, we just got Butcher and the Blade. Of course, we'll talk about that a little bit later. We did get them actually on Dynamite this past week, which is nice to see. But if I'm going to say this now, of any kind of releases that are going to happen in the soul future, it's probably going to be, I can see Jeff Hardy, I can see Finn Balor, I can see, I don't know, I don't think it would be Riddle or anything like that, but there's definitely going to be more releases coming. Do I know who they're going to be? No, I do not know who they're going to be, honestly. I can just make up random names, but the thing I'm going to rant about is WWE. Solely, you don't care about your future. You're going to be going down under the next 5 years if you don't continue to work on something. How long is it gonna take before you realize sports entertainment is dead? Nobody cares about sports entertainment anymore. All they care about is professional wrestling. Professional wrestling is the new thing of today. AEW ain't no WCW where they're gonna try to copy WWE so much. No, if you look at AEW and WWE, they're totally separate entities. Hence why AEW is gaining so much steam and so much success right now. It's because it's something new, something that people have wanted for years, and it was a right moment for it to happen. Because people don't want to keep on seeing WWE, because all they're gonna do is just keep on focusing on the guys that they're just gonna stub down your throats. You don't want to see it anymore. You really don't.
Not to mention, with WWE, just when you think you can get behind like your favorite talent, next thing you know, they're released. So it's very hard to get into to even continue to be a fan of WWE, knowing that like your favorite wrestlers are just constantly getting released every single month.
Right, I know exactly. So, I mean, that's basically all we are going to talk about WWE wise. I don't want to go too far into deep about it because we still have other things to talk about. But certainly we want to hear your thoughts on this. Who's next? And the real question is there who's got the better future in the next 5 years? Is it AEW or is it WWE? Because clearly we know what our choice is. Everybody might be different, but right now the clear victor is AEW over WWE.
Yeah.
But as far as that, we are going to be going on to some Impact talk.
Yep.
Take it away, Marty.
Yeah. So this past week we had some digital media championship scruff, as well as some Impact Wrestling taping scruff, as well as some Turning Point scruff. So, without further ado, let's get into the Digital Media Championship stuff. We had a big fatal four-way match to determine a potential new number one contender for the Digital Media Championship. It was a contest between Matthew Raywalt, Chelsea Green, Alicia Edwards, and Jake something. But the victor and turns out to be Chelsea Green. She is now the new number one contender for the Digital Media Championship, and she did have her match at Turning Point. We will get into that. Next up on BTI. Usually I don't talk a lot about BTI, but in this instance, it was something that furthered a storyline that was taking place on Impact. So this one is Brian Myers and Sam Beale. Brian Myers defeats Sam Beale, but after the match, he injures him and basically takes him to a local medical facility. So now we get on to the Impact tapings for the week. We have Steve Macklin versus Laredo Kid, and if Steve Macklin beats Laredo Kid, he is added to the X Division Championship match at Turning Point, making it a triple threat. So, with that, Steve Macklin still remains unbeaten, and just, I wrote here it's in singles competition, but no, he just has not been pinned or submitted in general. He still has not been pinned or submitted, but at Turning Point, it's Laredo Kid versus Trey Miguel versus Steve Macklin. We'll get into that. Rich Swan wants Brian Myers at Turning Point. You see a segment with Rich Swan and Willie Mack tending to Sam Beale on a gurney. They're ready to take him to the hospital. So Rich Swan wants to take on Brian Myers. Then we have a segment with Trey Miguel. He wants to beat Steve Macklin at Turning Point. And then we have another segment with Chris Saban and Ace Austin backstage. Chris Saban basically just told Ace Austin he wants to prove a point, and that point is that Ace Austin can't win a match without cheating. So next up we have the Inspiration and the Undead Bridesmaids, and the Inspiration take the win. Then we have some stuff going on here. So yes, Chelsea Green challenged Jordan Grace on the countdown to Turning Point. Then we have some brawling in the Impact Zone. Moose and Eddie Edwards before Turning Point. And then we cut to Scott D'Amore backstage. He makes it official for Turning Point. It is Full Metal Mayhem for the Impact World Championship between Moose and Eddie Edwards. We'll get into that. Doc Gallows defeated Hikuleo on the tapings, so it furthers the rivalry between Bullet Club and the Good Brothers. Next up, we have a six-man tag between the Demon and Decay versus Johnny Swinger, Hernandez, and Falaba. The Demon and Decay win that match. Next, we have the big main event of the night. Josh Alexander and Minoru Suzuki. I honestly thought that Minoru Suzuki was going to be the one to put away Josh Alexander, but no. Josh Alexander got quite possibly second to his Impact World Championship win, quite possibly the biggest biggest win of his career by defeating Minoru Suzuki. But next week on Impact, Wrestle House 2. So, if you remember just the crazy span of weeks that where they were in a house full of just outrageous crap, then you're gonna be in for a treat next week as Wrestle House 2. So, now we get on to Turning Point results. So, there were 2 matches that took place on the countdown to Turning Point. We had Finjuice versus Rohit Raju and Raj Singh, and Jordynne Grace versus Chelsea Green for the Digital Media Championship. So, first off, we have Finjuice versus Rohit Raju and Raj Singh. Finjuice defeated that team. Next up, we have Jordynne Grace and Chelsea Green for the Digital Media Championship. Jordynne Grace defeated Chelsea Green to retain. Then we get on to the main Turning Point show. The first match is Chris Saban versus Ace Austin. Ace Austin almost had Chris Saban. He almost would have proved Chris Saban's point that Ace Austin can't win a match without cheating, but Chris Saban was able to avoid the dirty tactics of Ace Austin and Madman Fulton to overcome him and defeat him. So now, instead of Ace Austin going around wearing a "I beat Chris Saban" shirt, Chris Saban can now wear a shirt that says "I beat Ace Austin." Next up, we get into some tag team action with Heath and Rhino versus Violent by Design. Unfortunately, Violent by Design were able to win that match. Eric Young used his hockey mask while the ref was distracted. He beat Rhino and pinned him, therefore making it Violent by Design beats Heath and Rhino. So next up is a match we were supposed to have Rich Swan versus Brian Myers, but unfortunately Brian Myers was unable to compete, so VSK actually took the place of Brian Myers in the match, but Rich Swan defeated VSK. So this next match, there were some rumors beforehand for that this match was actually going to get cut from the Turning Point card, and even just in general that his contract was up with Impact Wrestling. His contract has expired with Impact Wrestling, but the match actually still happened. I'm not too sure, though, if his contract is still expired, but regardless, W. Morrissey went up against Matt Cardona, and W. Morrissey defeated Matt Cardona with help from Moose. Next up, we have The Inspiration versus Decay for the Knockouts Tag Team titles. The Inspiration defeated Decay to retain. Next up is the Triple Threat match for the X Division Championship. Trey Miguel versus Steve Macklin versus Laredo Kid. Now, I want to talk about the finish to that match because it was an interesting one. Steve Macklin hit his finisher, Mercy for All, and then Trey Miguel hit the Meteora to stop the pin, and he had both men covered, and Steve Macklin was able to get his shoulder up, but Laredo Kid did not kick out, so therefore Steve Macklin is still unpinned, unsubmitted. He remains unbeaten. So Trey Miguel retained the X Division title, but he did not pin Steve Macklin. And he said he was going to beat Steve Macklin at Turning Point, but he didn't get the job done. He got the job done and retained his title, but he did not pin Steve Macklin. So, next up we have the Knockouts title match between Mickie James and Mercedes Martinez. Mickie James was able to retain. However, after the match, Deonna Purrazzo comes out to attack Mickie, and she wants a rematch at Hard to Kill. And, as well, Scott D'Amore has actually made it official. At Hard to Kill. It will be Deonna Purrazzo versus Mickie James for the Knockout title. But that is not the only monumental announcement that Scott D'Amore made for Hard to Kill. We will have the first ever Knockouts Ultimate X match at Hard to Kill in January. I'm excited for that. I'm definitely going to order the pay-per-view on Fight TV. I'm definitely going to watch Hard to Kill. But regardless, next up is the Impact Tag Team titles. The Good Brothers versus the Bullet Club for life. And the Good Brothers were able to defeat the Bullet Club to retain. Next up, we had a segment with Josh Alexander where he is angry. He's very pissed off that he was not part of Turning Point. He's pissed off that he wasn't part of the Impact World title match against Moose. He's just a man possessed. But I don't think anybody is a man possessed more than Jonah. You may not recognize Jonah by name, but he is the recently released, not too recently released, but regardless, he is formerly known as Bronson Reed. He has made his presence felt in Impact, beat down Josh Alexander, and as a matter of fact, it actually caused Josh Alexander to have some internal bleeding. He was bleeding from the mouth. I don't know if it's selling. I don't know if it's legit. Either way, Josh Alexander might be out for some time with internal bleeding. And regardless, though, Jonah has made his presence felt in Impact. We will have to wait and see what happens with that. But now we get on to the main event of Turning Point. Moose and Eddie Edwards for the Impact World title in Full Metal Mayhem. That match was freaking bonkers. That match was insane. The finish was Moose slamming Eddie Edwards onto the exposed ring canvas with a Uranagi, then following up with a no jackhammer needed spear to put Eddie Edwards away and retain the Impact World title.
Yeah, crazy
Impact
stuff.
Impact is really coming into their own now, and especially with the arrival of Jonah. Like, Jonah's presence is going to just send skyrockets through the Impact roster. And it almost kind of makes you wonder of, like, now who else is going to join the Impact Wrestling roster that is essentially a recently released WWE superstar.
Yeah.
Because, we were talking about that as well. I'm pretty sure we were talking about that, of how Jonah made his New Japan Pro Wrestling debut, where he stood across the ring from Moose, and was that just a way to tease him wanting the Impact World Championship and basically teasing his inevitable debut in Impact Wrestling? I tend to think that the latter is that. I don't think he was really meant to debut for New Japan Pro Wrestling. I think it was more so just a way to, like, basically tell Moose, because he probably knew that Moose was there on that show. He probably went there to tell Moose, like, hey, I may be here and I know you're here, but your home is what your championship says. I want that championship. I'll come on your turf and I'll take it from you. I'm gonna show up in Impact Wrestling. And he did.
Right. Well, we got that all out of the way. We move on to the AEW side of things. as this is the post Full Gear.
Yep.
Dynamite
and Rampage.
Well, starting off with Dynamite. Kenny Omega is no longer your AEW World Champion. I know, spoiler alert, if you have not watched it. He's no longer the AEW World Champion. But in the beginning of the show, he says he wants the Elite to hold down the fort while he's gone. But was mostly talking about Adam Cole. You hear that. Do you think there's a little tension in the Elite? There might be. I really do think that there is some. I really do think that there is some tension, and the tension is the Elite and Kenny Omega. I don't think are going to be anymore. I think once Kenny Omega comes back, they're going to look at him and be like, "Ha ha ha! You want back? No, we are doing our own thing."
It could potentially lead to Kevin Steen reuniting the Mount Rushmore of wrestling with Adam Cole and the Young Bucks. Potentially. If Kenny Omega is going to be out for an extended period of time, resting some injuries and getting some surgeries on said injuries, then more than likely he's not going to be in the limelight, and therefore the Mount Rushmore of wrestling can resurface.
Well, the thing is that
we also don't know where Kevin Owens lies with his contract situation, and even just where his allegiance lies.
Yeah.
But they're really hinting towards potential Mount Rushmore.
Well, yeah, I mean, we already know that Kevin Owens is going to ride out his contract, and I'm pretty sure him and AEW is pretty much a set thing. And the Young Bucks and Adam Cole are just waiting down the time. Of course, we'll talk about it a little bit later in the show too, but they were joined up with Bobby Fish. Of course, we'll talk about that towards the end, because that was our main event, was Adam Cole and Bobby Fish tagging up. But
the main event of Rampage.
Yes. As far as tension in the Elite, there very well can be some tension there. I don't know if it means that Kenny Omega is going to be gone, or the Elite will just have other bodies. I'm very intrigued of what's going to happen here when Kenny Omega does come back. I really do think that it's going to be something involved where Adam Cole has his own little faction, and then Kenny's going to have his own little faction. Because if I've known anything about AEW, they love the faction warfare, and I'm all for it. That's why I really do think that they need to have like a faction tag team title type of thing.
It's very much like a New Japan style of how they run things, because New Japan is very faction heavy as well. I mean, for example, you have Los Ingobernables, you have Chaos, you have Suzuki Gun, you have Bullet Club. That's let me not forget about the main unit. You have there's so many different factions surrounding New Japan that's basically what and you could even make the argument that AEW is essentially the U.S. market for New Japan, because I mean, granted, New Japan has its own U.S. market also with New Japan Strong, but a lot of AEW fans, and I talked about this on the last episode, a lot of AEW fans, they gravitate towards New Japan because they see all these New Japan guys coming over to AEW and opening that forbidden door, and it's all these AEW fans are like, man, how can I get back into New Japan? How can I get into New Japan? Or how can I get back into New Japan? And it's that's ultimately what you want to see out of New Japan. And even just in general, that's ultimately what you want to see. If you're a fan of New Japan, you want to be invested no matter what part of the country you're in, especially the U.S. market. like New Japan really wants to get into that U.S. market. So
Yeah, I mean, you're probably right. Going forward, it's not any ordinary day. It's National Cowboy Shit Day.
yes,
Um, as Adam Hangman Page is now your new AEW World Heavyweight Champion, celebrating in his hometown with his buddies there from the Dark Order. And then Bryan Danielson says, I'm not just out here, to be out here. I'm out here to congratulate Adam Hangman Page, as Bryan Danielson is the current number one contender. He won the AEW World Title Eliminator Tournament. It was supposed to be Bryan Danielson versus John Moxley, but it ended up being Bryan Danielson versus Miro, which was a really good match at Full Gear. Just not the one I was expecting to have happen as a match between each other. But they build up more towards their title match, as Bryan Danielson says he's been there, done that, had his moment. That moment he's talking about is the one where he went out there, had to win said match to go into the main event of WrestleMania and win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, which he name dropped.
Yeah.
Name dropped.
The AEW crowd didn't seem to to please.
Let me continue my point here before I, let you go on about it. He name drops his WrestleMania moment on AEW television, which is a big no-no. I don't care how much they say that there's no competition between both, but that's very ballsy of Bryan Danielson to do on television. I'm shocked that the mic just didn't get cut right after he was talking about WrestleMania right afterwards.
Bryan Danielson just does not care. Clearly.
He doesn't care, but it leads into the first match of the night, which is Bryan Danielson, and he showing, he was also getting booed, and he was showing that heel side. Well, let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. It's confirmed. He is heel now. Bryan Danielson is in that match and beats Evil Uno, and he also claims before he gets his title match, or whenever his title match with Adam Hangman Page is, he will literally fucking kick the heads in of every Dark Order member until it happens. Starting with
Colt Cabana.
Starting with Colt Cabana in his hometown.
Boom boom.
Bryan Danielson's on the mission. I'm all for his heel turn. I'm glad that I kind of like what they're doing. They're having him go up against every single male competitor that is in the Dark Order until he gets his match, and I'm all for it.
Well, who said it's every male competitor, though? He could just go up against Anna Jay, for all we know.
Yeah, but
first foray of intergender wrestling in AEW.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but I really do think that, Bryan Danielson is going to be a force to reckon with, and I'm honestly prepared and I'm ready for the match between him and Adam Hangman Page. I really do think it's going to bring the house down. It's going to be one of the most sought out matches to watch on AEW wrestling, and it was one that I wish we could have had a long time ago. But I know Bryan Danielson just came to AEW, but let me tell you something. Those two men are going to bring the house down on the AEW television. But moving forward, MJF did beat Darby Allin at Full Gear. We talked about it on last episode, which was all the results from Full Gear itself. But MJF says we have no choice to admit that he's better than everyone else, because everybody he has gone up against, he's literally beaten. He's beaten some of the greatest out there. I hate to say it.
He really is better than us, and we know it.
I hate to say it. Is it time to put some spec on his name?
I think so. MJF is proving a lot of his doubters wrong. And it's, granted, he's still the salt of the earth, and he's still But at the same time, it's like he's proving a lot of people wrong. And isn't that kind of what he's supposed to do anyways? He's supposed to prove a lot of his doubters wrong.
Yeah, I mean, especially being a young, up-and-coming wrestler. And
25-year-old kid.
I tell you what, this is why I already said that AEW is preparing more for the future. They're already putting the putting the pieces in place. I mean, I can go on, but I'm not going to. I can name you 3 guys that are young that I know are going to be on their future list.
Jungle Boy,
MJF, Darby Allin. And of course, you could probably put Dante Martin on there, but I digress.
Yeah.
But moving forward, Eddie Kingston wants
Yeah.
a piece of Daniel Garcia. Well, guess what? He's gonna get it next week, or this coming Friday.
Yep.
On Dynamite, on Rampage. I mean,
Yep.
They will be going up against each other on Black Friday, of all days. So, it was
You gotta do something.
Daniel Garcia and 2.0 were saying how much, stop being like, well,
The
2.0
show
2.0 was saying stop whining, Eddie, and then Eddie was like, you know what, I want a piece of you. I want to shut you up, type of thing. Well, guess what? He's gonna have every right to shut him up, as Daniel Garcia does not have a very good track record on, the actual shows themselves. So, what better way to build Eddie Kingston back up with having him going up against,
Not to mention, it also kind of seemed like Eddie Kingston was just annoyed by
Oh yeah, of course he
2.0
was.
and Daniel Garcia. I mean, how can you not be, though? That's
Right.
That's 2.0 and Daniel Garcia, like, in a nutshell. They're just purposely annoying. But at the same time, the show rules.
Yep. So, all right, moving on forward. Talk about the forbidden door that keeps on getting
Yes.
open even further and further. Orange Cassidy and
Tomohiro Ishii, the Stone Pitbull.
beat the Butcher and the Blade. See, we were talking about the Butcher and the Blade. Well, they were on Dynamite this week.
Not to mention, Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends, they're in chaos. Like, Rocky Romero sent out the invitation, and, Okada has spoken, so Best Friends and Orange Cassidy are in chaos now, and who better to have from New Japan that is a member of Chaos than Tomohiro Ishii? I mean, granted, it would have been cool to, it would have been fucking amazing to see Okada himself, but I think we're going to have to wait a little bit longer to see Okada in AEW. But regardless, the Stone Pitbull, Tomohiro Ishii in AEW.
So, moving forward, FTR.
Yep.
They've had some beef up with, the Nightmare Family or with Cody, with
that was just
Pac.
pent-up aggression for Cody.
But the thing is, they want a 5-on-5 match, and they don't. And apparently, Tully Blanchard wants to be involved with Arn Anderson. What do we think will happen? Honestly, I wouldn't be shocked. I really do think there will be a 5-on-5. I could see Arn getting back in a wrestling ring. I could see Arn and Tully back in the ring. I mean, we're already seeing Tully technically.
Yeah, and that was horrible the first time. We don't need to see Tully Blanchard in a fucking wrestling ring in 2021. Nor do we need to see Arn Anderson in a wrestling ring but at the same time, I would like to see Arn Anderson just go up to Tully and be like, bang, and do the whole, Armed Anderson thing.
So, I'm thinking, already next week there's going to be that kind of, there's going to be like a 4-on-4 type of 8-man tag team, I think, with both sides. So, honestly, a 5-on-5 I can see kind of happening eventually. I just don't know when.
If you want to make a Survivor Series style match, then just, by God, do it already.
Right.
Seriously. because, that's pretty much where you're heading. Is like, oh yeah, we want to have this like 5-on-5 match. It's like, okay, if you want to have a 5-on-5 match, make it elimination, make it a Survivor Series style match. For all I care. I mean, Survivor Series, because we're recording on a Sunday, is this Sunday. So like it all, by the time you watch this on Wednesday, it'll have already happened. But we don't freaking care enough to talk about it. And even then, but yeah, like, seriously, if AEW wants to have that, like, Survivor Series style match, then just let it happen already.
Right, so...
Nobody's really gonna care that much if it does.
Yeah, true. So moving forward, CM Punk comes out to interrupt MJF as he's basically still saying how he's the best in, he's better than you, than you know it. Basically saying that he's the best out there. Well, if there's anybody that has something to say about it, it's the best in the world himself, CM Punk. Comes out.
Allow me to introduce myself. Maxwell.
He just looks at him, doesn't shake his hand, goes out of the ring.
Now, what you guys may not know is that years and years ago, MJF actually met CM Punk, and so, yeah, this is basically a callback.
So, what do we think that it means that he didn't shake his hand? Eventually, it's going to mean that they're going to wrestle. They're just not going to do it next week. They could do it on Rampage, but not on Dynamite. Of course, we'll discuss why they're not going up against each other because of Rampage. But going on, Darby says he wants a rematch between him and MJF, and then wants the biggest and the baddest. Well, so far, the biggest and the baddest apparently is Billy Gunn. Boy, the only reason why you're the biggest and the baddest is because you're juicing a little too much. You're damn near 50 years old, and you got like muscles like they're nothing.
He's got muscles on his muscles.
Well, let me tell you something. Lay off the juice.
Yeah.
I'm actually quite shocked, and I know this is bad for me to say. I am quite shocked with all that he has done in his life. He actually was able to have 2 kids. Yeah. And that's how I'm going to leave that off. I'm not going to go into full details about that. But I really do think that Darby going up against MJF, yeah, I would like to see a rematch between them two. I just don't want this to be a full-blown, just like always them going up against each other type of rivalry.
Well, see, that's the thing, too. You had the Ass Man versus Darby Allin, and the Ass Man was there with his ass boys. Thank you, Danhausen.
Yeah. So
they
Darby
had ass boys trending on Twitter.
So Darby is definitely going to want to have to go up against. I think Darby proving himself against the biggest and the baddest. Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, I just wish that he could get past MJF, and if it means that he has to have a rematch and actually get a victory over him, then fine. Yeah, I would like to see it. I just think that so far, really the only big pay-per-view victory he has had as of late was probably him and Sting going up against FTR in that cinematic match there, which was really, really good.
Was it against FTR? No, I thought it was against Team Taz.
Oh, no, it was against, Team Taz. That's right. We'll talk about...
Although it would still be cool to see FTR versus Darby and Sting.
But we will talk about Team Taz, but before then, Leo Rush and Dante Martin beat the Acclaimed. I mean, don't really have to explain too much there, but going forward, you know how we were talking about how Team Taz was taking notes? Yeah. Well, they come out and they're trying to recruit Dante Martin, saying that you'll be bigger and bigger and badder than you are right now if you join us than you would be with Leo Rush. So what is our thoughts on that? Dante Martin has just so much going on right now. I don't know what the hell he's going to do. I hope this is eventually going to lead to his brother coming back and saving him from the void, the darkness.
Yeah.
And that Top Flight can be Top Flight once again. And right off the momentum that they had before Darius Martin got injured. So I don't think he's going to join up with Team Taz. I think he's going to keep on going with Leo Rush, which will eventually lead to Darius Martin be like, "What the hell, man? Why are you with Leo Rush? We're brothers. You're better than this. You shouldn't let some little punk ass bitch, tell you what to do. You're your own man." Who knows? It could also lead to him turning heel against his brother or something like that, or rejoining his brother. I think that's eventually what's going to happen. It just makes the most sense. Hence why he's up with, Leo Rush. Going forward, the main event of Dynamite, Jay Lethal is now All Elite, and he challenged Sammy Guevara for the TNT title. Unfortunately, fell a little short, but it was a back and forth contest. Sammy Guevara is still your TNT champion, but let me tell you something. That match was highly anticipated right from the get-go, and it lived up to the hype.
Jay Lethal definitely made a good first impression on his debut match for Dynamite, or for AEW.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Jay Lethal, I really think that he's somebody that can be a future AEW World Champion in that company. I just hope this is not a temporary thing before ROH, comes back and then it's like, well, this was just a short little run. Now, ROH is back. I think he needs to stay in AEW.
Yeah.
This is your moment to show. This is the first time that you've been on a national, stage.
Yeah.
In AEW. This is the Top Gun. And it no longer is WWE. It's AEW now. AEW is that top stage that every professional wrestler, and I mean every professional wrestler wants to go to nowadays. Don't get me wrong. There's Impact, there's New Japan Pro Wrestling, there's other places, but AEW is going to be the eventual place that everybody really wants to go to. It's the top brand. But I'm finally glad that Jay Lethal, after 20 years, gets to finally be in that company where he can shine day in, day out, week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out type of thing. I just hope that he doesn't make the boneheaded decision to want to go back to ROH and then basically start all over again. But, who knows? ROH, I really do think that they might just be no more. Yes, I know they're on a hiatus. They plan on coming back in April, but the only thought is, if you also don't have enough money and had to release all your wrestlers off their contracts, basically means that it's basically saying that, one, you're just gonna have no future, money into the future.
Yeah,
but
they basically just went bankrupt with that whole thing, and which is sad, but at the same time, it just means that, hey, another company out there is just gonna have to buy the company from them so that they can finance the whole thing, and even just in general, like, actually have a roster behind them. Keep the roster employed.
It'd be interesting of who it would be. Of course, we'll definitely find out and let you know as soon as we do to let you know. But going on to the Rampage side of things, Darby Allin, like we were telling you, the first opponent that is the biggest and baddest is Billy Gunn. He beats him up. He beats him in that ring, and then all hell is breaking loose.
What a hell of a coffin drop to the outside to the Gun Club.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that definitely was a hell of a coffin drop. Clearly, even Sting got involved. So honestly, what I'm thinking that's gonna happen, it's gonna be the Gun Club versus Sting and Darby. Finally, I've been waiting for freaking Sting to finally step into a wrestling ring again, because lately he's only just been Darby's little bitch at this point. Just,
in a sense, he was like Darby's bodyguard.
just there to save Darby when chaos ensued. To my knowledge, Sting's not hurt. So, why is he not wrestling in the ring? Well, guess what? Now, I can honestly see, who knows, it could be next Friday that they go up against each other, where it's the Gun Club versus Sting and Darby, which I would totally be fine with. Hopefully can set up some more tag team matches for them. Maybe even a tag team match heading up at Revolution. Who knows? But going forward, speaking of opponents for CM Punk, well, is that the one you're expecting? QT Marshall wants to face up against CM Punk in his hometown. Let me tell you something, QT Marshall. Bad idea. If you know anything about CM Punk, it's already, it's one hell of a thing to go up against CM Punk. It's another to do it in his hometown of Chicago.
Yep.
He has gotten beaten badly in Chicago, and he's won great in Chicago. Of course, we know exactly the two things that he's talking about with Chicago. Both came in WWE.
Well, that, and I'm sure he's talking about his debut win over Darby at All Out in Chicago.
Right.
But
exactly.
Yes.
But QT Marshall, this coming Dynamite, later tonight when this airs, it will be him against CM Punk. So, we shall wait and see how long it will be for CM Punk against MJF. Yeah. But for right now, QT Marshall is his next opponent.
Not to mention, let's also not forget, QT, that CM Punk is currently undefeated.
Yeah, so that's very true too.
You really think that, bringing a knife to a gunfight against CM Punk in Chicago is a good idea?
No, definitely not. So going forward, Inner Circle and the American Top Team apparently aren't done with each other. This was apparently just the first match. If you know anything American Top Team, don't mess with Inner Circle.
Yeah.
They know how to deal with other factions. Trust me, they don't know how to deal with you. So do you think this will eventually lead to another? Because it always seems to be Inner Circle dealing with the Stadium Stampede. I think it's going to be another Stadium Stampede between American Top Team and Inner Circle. That just seems to be the thing that happens there. Of course, there's another Jericho cruise that will be lined up next March, and it's a 4-leaf clover.
Yes.
And guess who's already supposed to be there? Dan Lambert. So, this shows you probably how long. Probably shows you how long. So, there'll probably be something that leads up into Revolution, but for right now, they are not done with each other. But if there's anybody that's been having one hell of a hot streak as of late, and very well could win up the whole damn tournament, it's this one right here. Jade Cargill beats Red Velvet to move on in the TBS title tournament. Tell you what, she is that bitch for a reason.
Yeah.
She is undefeated in singles competition. She's not undefeated.
19-0 now?
I think so, yes.
She's looking to turn
There are other women that are in there that could very well disrupt her momentum. So. There's Thunder Rosa. There's, Nyla Rose, who has moved on in the match. Oh, yeah, actually, we did skip one. Speaking of Nyla Rose, she did beat Hikaru Shida with the help of Serena Deeb.
Yep.
Hence why she is now in the next round. But Jade Cargill moves on to the next round. So far we had Jade Cargill and Nyla Rose in the final 4 of the tournament. Thunder Rosa is going to be the next one to be going up against her opponent in the tournament. I can't remember who is the other two that are going to be in there that could lead into the final four.
I think it's Jamie Hayter.
No, it's Jamie Hayter and Thunder Rosa are going up against each other. That's what it is.
It's Nyla and Jade, right?
Well, no. Thunder Rosa and Jamie Hayter
are in the semifinals.
Are in the semifinals.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Well, actually in the quarterfinals. Semifinals right now are Jade Cargill and Nyla Rose. It could very well be them that go up against each other to be crowned the new champion.
Either way, Jade Cargill is looking to make that championship that bitch show.
Yeah, and it very well could. But moving on to the main event, speaking of Bobby Fish and Adam Cole, while they team up with each other for the first time since
their Undisputed Era days, yes.
But Jurassic Express beats Adam Cole and Bobby Fish. But Adam Cole is up on the ramp with the Young Bucks and just leaves Bobby Fish to get tapped out in the middle of the ring.
And they told him not to tap, but he tapped anyways.
Yeah. He taps out to Jungle Boy's Bear Snatch. Snare Trap. I don't know what the heck that means. I would assume that there's going to be a little tension. Bobby Fish is probably going to be like, hey man, what the hell was that for? Why did you just leave me out there just to, have me submit to the Snare Trap? So I think there's going to be some tensions rising. The Elite just seems to be tearing each other apart one by one or something like that. Even though Bobby Fish technically is not in the...
He's just a hired hitman.
Yeah, he is. I think he was just hired there to basically go up against Jurassic Express because right now the Elite and Jurassic Express aren't really done with each other right now either. I don't know how long that's going to be going on for, but right now, honestly, AEW is looking pretty good leading into, the post pay-per-view Dynamite and Rampages. Next week is the Thanksgiving show as well as Black Friday. I'm honestly looking forward to what they have in store. I think that AEW is in the right place heading into the next pay-per-view as well as just Dynamite and Rampage itself. But honestly, as that goes, that's going to conclude our episode of No Final Bell. Don't forget to follow us on social media. Also, don't forget to, if you are doing No Shave November, I want to say ours are growing in pretty scruffily right now, especially, Brian and I. But make sure to watch Sports Talk on Sundays, 9 a.m. Right now, Out of Turn 4 is done for the season, but we'll be back as soon as NASCAR season and racing season is back up and going. But make sure to like, comment, subscribe on this video, turn the bell notifications on, so you'll
let us know your thoughts on the releases, either down in the comments or let us know on social media.
Yes, please. We will, we make sure to check it as much as possible.
We want to hear your feedback on this, guys.
And always, we will be back for more.